If you've flown lately, you know that you have to take off your shoes, your coat, you take your laptop out of your bag. But is the current screening process at airports enough? The attempted bombing of Northwest Flight 253 is raising questions about our security process and just how the TSA has been handling it.
And McKeehan Thomas is a former TSA screener and says there were constant breaches in the process when she worked at the TSA. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. When I fly with my family on a flight and I go to the airport, should I be confident that the TSA employees are doing their job properly?
Not 100%.
Why?
Not 100%.
Tell me why, Ann.
I've personally witnessed security breaches, as you stated there. When I went to work for TSA in 2004, I went from one airport to another airport. The first day on the job, a TSA screener came up to me and stated, "Annie, if you keep your mouth shut, you'll do fine." Little did I know at the time what I was in for. I was witnessing individuals and supervisors implementing their own interpretation of standard operating procedures, which was putting the flying public at risk.
And tell us about some of the most egregious security breaches you saw as a screener.
I personally witnessed a female security officer hand-wanding a female passenger. When the bra alarmed because of the underwire, and I'm sure you've probably had that, she failed to follow the SOP and resolve that alarm, instead telling the passenger, "Oh, that's just your bra." Well, she shouldn't have done that. There's a certain standard operating procedures to resolve that alarm. She could have had anything hidden in it. Something alarmed the bra. It may not have been just the underwire bra. When I went to tell my supervisor about it, I was told to keep my mouth shut. And I was told again when I left the building that night by the same supervisor to keep my mouth shut.
And tell us, was there an incident involving what appeared to be a Middle Eastern man who had a laptop with wires running out of it attached to an alarm clock? What about that?
I was given a piece of paper. I was instructed to read the paper, read everything on it, and then sign off on it that I had been informed of this incident. The Middle Eastern man went through an airport. The shoes went through first. There was something unusual about the shoes, and the shoes were brought out of the x-ray machine and looked into, and they were found to be the soles hollowed out. Next that came into the x-ray machine was a laptop, as you said, with wires coming out of the laptop and attached to an alarm clock.
What did you think that was? What did you think that was?
Well, they didn't know. They just followed the standard operating procedures. They called the airport security. The laptop was taken. It was tested for explosives. It was retested again for explosives, from what I recall reading. The individual was turned over to the airport security police. TSA didn't hear anything more about it until the next day, when TSA did some research on their own and found that the individual was allowed to leave the airport. They told TSA that he was not on a no-fly list. They had checked it into the computer. TSA, as I said, did the research on it, and the airport could not have checked it on the computer because that afternoon the computers were down.
Incredible.
So yes, the ball was dropped.
And you saw many incidents of this. So Ann, what can our listeners take away? Is there anything that can be done about all of these breaches and how TSA performs?
I would definitely urge the flying public to get a hold of their congressmen and senators and really demand that an investigation into these airports. There are people there that have been a long time there. You have a tremendous turnover rate. As I stated once in an interview, who do you want behind that x-ray? Someone that has just been out of a 10-day extensive training program and maybe a few months on-the-job training? Do you want someone like that behind that X-ray machine to find that tiny little detonator in a bag? Or do you want someone that's more experienced and has been there for years and can find that tiny detonator in that bag?
I'm sure you would too, Ann. And Ann McKeehan Thomas, we thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. And we know you've written a novel called Screener, which is now available.
Yes, sir.
Thanks so much, Ann.
Yes, sir.
Good luck.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Sure. All right, meanwhile, a new